My culinary journey really started as a child around my grandmother Ruth's table. Ruth was a classic Jewish American grandma. There was always butter cookies when you walked into her house, and there was always room for one more at her dinner table. Well into her 90s, there were people gathering around her table, the young activists talking about the world and often bemoaning the state of the world while eating some of Ruth's delicious cooking. And that heart for community, that heart for people is really what has always drawn me and inspired me to cook and to create a business and opportunities for people to connect around food. I was just talking with a great friend of mine, and we were talking about quinoa, which is suddenly ubiquitous, but 20 years ago, the only people who knew about quinoa were hippies who had traveled to Bolivia before. Now, my parents met in Bolivia in the Peace Corps, and so I grew up with quinoa, and I always thought that it was great, and it was something that they added simply to our soups. We are going to be doing some different stuff with it today. We're going to be making a delicious quinoa pilaf to go with a meal that has some animal protein. It's got some salmon, but other than that, it's vegan. And that really speaks to the way that I try to have a lot of consciousness in the food that I make, the way that we, I think in our food choices, need to consider both what makes our body healthy, but also what is ecologically sustainable and responsible from a food perspective. So having primarily plant-forward food and plant-based food is a critical piece of making sure that what we're eating as humans is also working for the entire planet. So I want to show you one of my all-time favorite, super easy culinary hacks, culinary tricks, and that is peeling ginger with a spoon. In any commercial kitchen that you go into, you will find somebody peeling ginger with a spoon. And this ginger reminds me of, again, of my grandmother and the way that her food was this interesting blend, this utterly American blend of Eastern European, Jewish Ashkenaz food, the food of our ancestors, and her personal favorite, Chinese food. So grandma made a mean sesame chicken, and I think that's one of the things that's really special and really striking about American cuisine is the way that it has created a home and a beautiful fusion for cuisines from all over the world. And I think that when I think about food, I'm always thinking about how does this relate to people? And I think one of the most impacting things to consider in our food system is just how dependent it is on human migration. Humans have been migrating forever, for millennia, and our food system is actually utterly dependent on immigrants, both